Stevie D here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be going over my KLR650 and the modifications I've done to it and upgrades for my round the world trip. What I did is I tried to figure out what I needed for the bike, which was essential and which was not. So I broke them down into three different categories. The first category was protection. Protection for the bike to see how I could protect it from the trip in case I would crash, hit a rock, or whatever. The second part was going to be for safety. What can I do to improve the safety of the bike for the rider, such as additional lights, cruise control, navigation accessories, things like that. The last thing I looked at was needed comfort. You know, do I upgrade the seat? Do I change controls? Do I change suspension? What do I do to make it more enjoyable for the rider? So come along and let's take a look at what the modifications I've done. So starting from the front of the bike, working back, we'll cover the modifications and upgrades I've done to the bike. So one of the modifications I did was I upgraded the front suspension. I went to Race Tech front fork springs. From there, I also put on an Eagle Mike's fork brace. I have not ridden the bike a lot, but the little bit I had before I put it on and the little bit I've ridden after, it has made a great improvement to the handling of the bike. I added a different fender to the bike. I didn't really like the KLR style, so I went with the UFO, and I also used Eagle Mike's lowering bracket system to mount it lower just to get a better look to it. Moving up on the bike, I went to additional driving lights. The headlights are alright, but I wanted brighter lights at night, for especially when I'm off-road riding. And also when you turn the bike, the lights move with the wheel, so I can see where I'm going versus just projected forwards like the normal headlight is. So I went to the rigid driving lights, which are a great improvement. I'll show a video of it from the rear of the bike with the lights off to see how the headlight improvements are. I left the standard low beam bulb in, but I did change the high beam bulb to a brighter, higher output headlight. I changed out the brake lines to steel braided for more response on the braking. I still haven't decided yet if I'm going to change the front brake caliber and the disc to see if I needed more due to the weight of the bike. So next thing I did is I changed the front windshield from the standard one to a zero gravity, and I mounted it in the KLR upper dash, so I have the availability to adjust the angle to it. I have it set right in the middle right now, and it seems to be a really good position. It quieted down and took the buffering away from the ride. Moving along the side of the bike, starting off on the clutch side of the bike, you'll notice that I put crash guards on the bike. I put SW Motech crash guards on, mounted highway pegs on those crash guards also for rider comfort. SW Motech installed extremely easily. I like them because they have a little bit of anti-vibration dampening built into them, and plenty of places to mount my highway pegs, which mounted fairly easily to them. I put on a little bit of paracord on the upper side. That's about 35 feet, just in case I would need cordage for something. It's always nice to carry cordage with you. Below the crash guard, I have a Ricochet crash plate, just to protect the engine from any rocks, bumps, or anything like that. Farther back in the bottom, I put in a low profile drain plug. I just used the Eagle Mike's one when I was ordering my Eagle Mike's part. So it's nice to have a magnetic drain plug and low profile, so if I do scrape or ride over a log or something, a rock, I'm not going to damage that drain plug or the engine case. Any protection you can give it is the best you can do. So coming back a little farther, you'll notice the bike is sitting up on a center stand. I went with a Happy Trails center stand for the reason it's just nice to have a center stand if you're going to do chain maintenance. If I have to change a flat tire or put a new tire on, it's nice to be able to lift it up and have free access to it so the bike is standing nicely. I added Tusk Panniers to it. I went with the large Tusk Panniers. They appear to be large enough to carry everything that I want to. I've got my tools and some clothing on one side, cook some camping stuff and clothes on the other side. I have a little bit an issue with finding room for my tent, so my tent will probably be going into a dry bag mounted on the back here. But they're very nicely constructed panniers, very solid. They do have tie downs on the top. I did take those screws out and added longer ones and Loctited them just because I've heard horror stories of them falling out. And same thing as I Loctited the locks into the pannier lids, so I know that they're not going anywhere. I've changed my shift knob to a Tusk extended and folding one for the fact if I would crash. Also, I have a size 13 boot, so it's really nice to have the little extra room for your foot when shifting. And I went with larger foot pegs just because the KLR standard ones aren't really comfortable to stand on for a long time. So these Tusk are very aggressive and they're nice and wide to stand on, making it a lot nicer. For improvements for highway speed, I changed the sprocket from a 15 tooth to a 16 tooth sprocket. I'll actually be carrying an extra sprocket forward and rear and chain with me along with the trip in case there's any damage to it or I have to replace it due to being worn due to the miles that I'll be putting on. So the battery is normally a liquid acid battery that if you tip over it can drain, so I switched that out to a dry cell or a sealed battery, so I don't have to worry about tipping it and having any acid leak out. So nice maintenance-free battery that way. And I also have a connection for my battery tender, and I have an adapter if I want to switch that to a USB and power port. So if I want to run my pump, I can run it off of that port also. From the brake side of the bike, you can see crash guards and the highway pegs, just like the other side. Coming back, I added the Happy Trails rear master cylinder protection plate. Just a lot of reading and stuff and noticing it appears to be a fairly easy area to get damaged. I put in steel brake lines on the rear also. The brake lines are by Tusk. Up front, I have Barkbuster style hand guards. These are the Tusk D-Flex Pros. A little bit of a pain to install, but they do go on after a little bit of finessing. So, and I also changed to Pro Tapper type of hand grip, a lot more comfortable. I added a throttle lock, which is the Atlas throttle lock. Very easy to operate. All you gotta do is set your speed, push a little button, and it's locked in. You want to release it, push a button, and we're good. So I changed out the mirrors. I didn't like the small ones. I wanted a little more area of visibility, and the wanted ones that would stick out a little bit farther. So I found these on Amazon. They work very well. Continuing back to the rear of the bike, where my rear rack is, I found a rear rack that was larger on eBay that has holes drilled all the way around it for anchor points. So if I want to mount a bag or any luggage back here, I can. It made enough room to mount 2 Rotopax. I have a 1 gallon water can and a 1 gallon fuel tank. So I know I have enough fuel 99% of the time, but when I do a little bit longer ranges and I may be running into an area where I don't know if there's going to be fuel, I'll be able to carry another extra gallon in reserve in case there's a problem. I opted for the Rotopax locking ones just because I'm going to be in foreign countries and I don't want anything to walk off. So they lock really simple and to take them off, you just kind of spin them and the tank comes off. And then a couple bolts, I can remove that if I want a totally flat surface for not riding that. Otherwise, just put it on, lock it down. So it's tight. You take your cylinder, reinstall it, and you're good to go. So the rear of the bike, I didn't do a whole heck of a lot. All I did was relocated my helmet lock to the Tusk bracket, so I have a place to mount my helmet, and I also took the license plate from being mounted underneath the rear fender to bring it up to on top of the rear fender, and I added some LED lights back there to illuminate it, give me a little more visibility. I will probably be adding some reflective tape to the back of my panniers to give them a little more visibility. Safety wise, I did install four-way flashers to the bike, and that is just going to be in case I have to pull over for some reason. So, looking at the dash and the controls, you'll see that I have mounted a GoPro mount on a RAM mount, so I can have it facing back towards me, down the road, or any direction I kind of want to have it set at. I also have a RAM mount on the other side for my phone, if I use that for navigation or communication. One thing I did realize when going over to Europe, cell phone plans get very expensive, and I also wanted to be able to reach people no matter where I was, so I opted for going with the Garmin In-Reach Explorer Plus. The nice thing about that device is I can use it to send a text message anywhere in the world, or from anywhere in the world I can receive a message. And it also has an SOS feature that if I push it, and it also has ability to run a GPS map and track system. I went with the Zumo. I went with the 390 GPS for the fact that I would like to be able to have a GPS function when I'm over there. I do understand that when using my cell phone I can use that too, but I don't want to risk running up any data charges or cell phone bills when I get home and get an unsuspected bill for a couple $100 because I wasn't aware of what I was using my phone for. So by doing with the GPS I can limit the amount of cell phone usage I will be using in that. Mounted them up nice and high where they're not in my line of sight for down the road. They get a little bit of sun protection from the windshield, but I can also easily see that. I have a KLR style lower dash that I built, which gives me the option to have a voltmeter to see how well my bike is running. For voltmeter I do have two outlets for the USB ports, and I have a 12 volt automotive outlet. So I have my four-way flasher switch mounted on here also. If I stop and need to use that, I have another switch here to run my GPS units as I need them or don't need them. And then I have my switch for my additional driving lights. So going down the road, that's my normal headlight. If I switch on my brights, it improves a little bit, but it's not really what I want for if I am off-road riding. So I will switch to my other ones, and as you can see, they can create daylight quite easily. So I kept the original KLR tank bag, and I don't know if I'm going to leave this one on or switch to a different one that I have. I have another one from my other bike that's a little bit larger. But this one seems to be adequate for what I want it to do. It's not too large, doesn't get in the way. It has a port and holes so I can run my power cords in here if I want to charge my devices. It's got a map case area. It's got plenty of pockets, one outside, 3 inside for carrying smaller documentation and stuff that I would need that way. Also, if you want to see more information and more video from my trip, as I'm traveling, I will be posting and uploading information to some of my social media accounts. To get access to premiere videos and that, I will be starting a Patreon page, and also if you go to Ride of a Lifetime and GoFundMe, there'll be information on there on how to get special information and access to me on the ride. There'll be a thing where you will be able to see my trip by a certain subscriber amount. You'll be able to see where I'm going along the trip. My In-Reach Garmin will be posting every couple minutes to where my location is, and I will be posting information on a website that you can see there. Also, I'll be stopping at several spots to be able to communicate with me via text and that and social media. So if you have any questions at that point during the ride, or even if you know I'm going through, you'll see my route and where I'm going to be going. And if there's something you want to see a really cool picture of or whatever, I will be willing to stop and take a picture if it's on my route. So again, this is going to be a ride of a lifetime. Hopefully you found this video informative. If you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button and also hit the like button. The little bell up in the corner will give you notifications of the next time I post a video. Thanks for watching.